Dave, when it comes to Connor and Leon, would you say that them being together right now is day to day or week to week?
Day to day. Depending on how the game goes, Terry, it could be shift to shift.
Can you explain kind of the philosophy of putting them together? Was it a simple thing of having one goal to show for 4 games in a period there, or the other factors that might be involved? And what would it take to keep them together? And I guess I'm asking mostly about the other lines.
You know what? You get a read on your team every day and where you're at, and sometimes you just play a hunch that it's time to put them together and maybe get a bounce. There's just, as the season goes on, there's just I don't know. There's just different times that come along that you're looking for a different look just to jumpstart your group, and that's what we did. And went back with them again last night. I thought the line was very good last night, so we'll see how it goes here day to day. And the other thing is we want to try to get a read on the other lines, how the rhythm of your lineup goes when you do have them together. So there's a lot of factors that go into it. I wouldn't say anything set in stone, but just felt like it was the right time to try it.
Reed Wilkins, 630 Chad.
Dave, I'll start with the injury question. We saw Zach Cassian out there today. How is he feeling? How close is he to playing in a game?
He's coming. He still hasn't been cleared by the doctors, but it was first day with our group. He's been skating for a few days on his own. So the first day with our group, I think he's progressing. He's got to get cleared by the doctors, which I don't think would, at the earliest, might be the end of the week. So we'll see where it goes from there.
And in the last couple of weeks, you've had goals go in from bad angles in the first minute of games. Last night and in Vancouver a couple of weeks ago, you won both games. Is that a testament to the team, not being deflated by something that happens early like that, or how do you look at that? Yeah,
I mean, that's bad bounces happen in a game. If you're going to let one play like that dictate the outcome, then you're not a very good team. So I like the way we stick with it. There's mistakes that are made. You got to overcome them. And that's last night. Our guys. We talked about it from the start of the game, and we got to play a 60-minute game if we're going to win this game. And that goal went in early, and we still had lots of time to go. So we didn't change our thoughts whatsoever. It's nice that we went back and got the next one and got it to even. But I thought we played a pretty solid game for 60 minutes.
Derek Van Diest, Post Media.
Hey Dave, what did you see in Kyle Turris' game last night that he hadn't really been bringing up to the table up to that point?
You know what? He just made some good plays. I think he was involved in, was the primary guy involved in three grade A chances that we got. He had a good chance himself. So it was just getting involved in the offensive side of it. He's really tried to dig in defensively, positionally wise. We moved him over to the wing to see if we could get, he could use his skill a little more, and last night was a good night for him.
Is this a guy that, when you talk about needing something from the other forwards in order to keep Draisaitl and McDavid together, is this one of those guys that you need to kind of produce for you and you need to kind of bring that game every night?
Yeah, I mean, you're looking for balance, like we talked about the other day. I mean, everybody's expected to play a certain way when you don't have the puck, but you're certainly looking for some balance of your offensive output from the rest of your group. So he's a guy that he has a history of that, and the more he can contribute on that side, the better off it is for our group.
Kevin Woodley, NHL.com.
Yeah, hi, Dave. Obviously, you have a long history with Mike Smith. We all know about the puck handling, the battle, the character there. Is it fair to say, though, that this may be the most balanced he's looked in terms of in the crease and in control over the years you've watched him play? Like, can you see a difference there?
Well, I've seen him be pretty good. There was a Chicago series that we won in Arizona there. He was outstanding. So there's different points in his career. He's been very good. But he's come back, and he's from the injury at the start of the year, and he's worked awful hard. Him and Schwartz have worked awful hard at getting his game in place, and he's come in and he's played very well, and playing with a lot of confidence right now. You know, he's a hard-working guy, great leadership qualities, and he's a big part of our team. So he's come in and he's done his part and played very well.
What does it say about at this age that he went looking for new things in the off season to try and get better, where there's probably a lot of guys at that stage of their career that have had the runs you just talked about and the success you just talked about that might have been content to maybe just keep on doing what they were doing?
Well, I can tell you one thing about Schmitty. I've been coaching for a long time, and I had him as a young player drafted in Dallas. I can tell you there's maybe 2 or 3 guys that I would class as the best athletes I've ever coached, and he's one of those best athletes. And he's 38 or 39, whatever he is now. He's still an unbelievable athlete at that age. He doesn't show that age, and he's always has the latest thoughts on fitness and health, and you know, his whole family lives that way. He's an incredible athlete, and he's defying the age because he's so competitive, and his workload is phenomenal. You should see this guy practice. I mean, his workload is crazy what he does, and it's showing on the ice with positive results.
Mark Spector, Sportsnet.
Dave, what's the biggest fear as a coach when you've beat a team all five times you played them? What are the things you guard against in your club?
I don't look at the other 5. I look at the one that's right in front of us. So you prepare to win the next game in front of you. You understand, you know, that you've had some success against. Take some of that and try to put it in a formula to win. But you also have to understand what the other team's doing, and they've played a lot better than when we played them earlier in the year. And you know, you watched them play in Calgary the other night. They were a real strong team. So you take it game to game. You recognize your opponent, but it's how we have to play, and it doesn't matter if it's Ottawa or Calgary, whoever it is. We've got to play a real competitive, solid game, and you know, we've been fortunate to get points out of Ottawa this year, but every game is a difficult game.
You've had both sides of the spectrum. You had a veteran team in Dallas.
Yeah.
You had a team in Arizona that it eventually got stripped down pretty good. This Edmonton team, when you took it over, was somewhere in the middle, I bet.
Yeah.
Tell me about the difference between coaching when you're coaching the team that's young and on its way up and the team that's already there. Are you a completely different coach?
No. Every coach, what they do, they see what they have, and you coach to try to win with the players you have. And it was no different in Dallas. We had you know, a real veteran team, like you say, and then Arizona, we had some veteran players there for a bit, and then it went real young. But you recognize what you have. The coach's job is to maximize each player as best he can and get them to play in a cohesive group. And that doesn't change if you're a veteran team or you're a young team. But when you're a team that's striving to get better, it's you have a very the players, they want to get better. They're looking to take a next step, and that's where I think our group is. They're pushing to try to make sure that we're going to max out everything we have to try to be the best team we can be. And that's when you have a group like that, it's a fun group to be around.
Ryan Rashog, TS.
Dave, sometimes this type of question can come off like I'm telling you what to do with your lineup, which I absolutely am not. So just saying that from the outset. But with a young player like Evan Bouchard, who's he's 21 years old and he's still obviously developing. We know developing players need to play, but at the same time, you got a lot of defensemen and you got the need to win games. Where's the line between playing a young guy enough where you're not hurting his development versus, needing to have him, needing to have a competitive blue line? And are you kind of walking that fine line with him?
You try to walk that fine line all the time, but you got to remember these are not normal circumstances. It's not as if you can send him down for a game and get him a game and bring him back. That's just not happening these days. So we monitor as best we can. He got in, he actually played well, and we're cognizant of that all the time. But you're trying to get your team up and going, and every night is a valuable 2 points. You're trying to find the best way to get 2 points that night, and there's been there's been young players come in and play well for a little bit and then take a step back. So where we have depth on defense, we're going to use that depth as it goes here. Going into last night, I think it's 12 games in 21 days, so you're going to see a lot of people in the lineup. Bush has worked hard in practice. He's been an excellent teammate. He understands what's going on. When he gets his opportunity, he's got to be ready, just like other younger players on our team that, or players on that taxi squad. They've got to be ready. When they get called upon, they got to get in and do the job. So I understand exactly what you're saying about young players need to play. We were fortunate that Bush played in Europe before we got started. He's come in and played a little bit, but you also got to understand it's a different year. It's a different year. You can't just have your players heading to Bakersfield and play.
I guess, I've watched the taxi squad practice quite a bit. Is there a different benefit this year when, Bouchard's got 5, 6, 7 other guys? They can actually really practice and do a lot more drills than you might be able to do with just a smaller roster where you're just not going to burn guys out as much. Is there something made up there with just the intensity level they can practice at in a group?
No, I think you're exactly right. That's usually when if you're not playing in a normal season, there's 1 or 2 extra guys, and for lack of a better way of putting it, you get bag skates with 1 or 2 guys. Now they play, there's structure stuff that we do in the taxi practices. The assistant coaches have built into, part of our style, the way we want to play, and that's forwards and D. So it's a big benefit to have more players. Now, that's one of the benefits of keeping them all fresh. They all want to play. That's the derogatory thing. Everybody wants to play, and you can only play so many. But that is a factor in helping that taxi squad stay sharp. You can have, with that many players, you can have practices that are competition practices, not just skating practices.
Rob Tuchakowski, Post Media.
Hi, Dave. This series with Ottawa has worked out pretty well for you guys. It's 10 important points that you've got out of this thing. But I'm just wondering the challenge of it as it moves along. Does it get harder and harder each time? Like you go 5-0 against them, you get them 2 days later. You go 6-0 against them, you're going to get them 2 days later. Does each game get harder to win as this thing goes along?
That's probably the perception out there, but we try to really internalize it as one game at a time. So you recognize where you're at, and I don't know, I don't think anybody thinks about that. I think we think about how we're going to win the next game. Like you look at last game, we knew they played the night before in Calgary. They're coming in. It's going to be they're going to start hard. They're going to push. They're a team that doesn't quit. And you go into tomorrow's game. We know they're going to be fresher. Your opponent, but it's less about your record and more about how you're going to win on that given night. And that's what we've approached it, a lot of these back-to-back games, and we'll stay with that tomorrow.